One of my little passions is the orchids in our area, because it's amazing. In this Capes area we have so many. This is one of the very common ones, but beautiful, the little cowslip orchid, Calodenia flava. Again, the Capes area, and we took, for this book, we took a line which is actually the Gladstones line, which is the line that designates the Margaret River wine region, just as an arbitrary eastern boundary. And within this area, I think in the book we've got about 120 plus different orchids, and there will be more that I haven't been able to photograph yet, but it's a pretty good number. Again, there's so many different types. Some are common all through the southwest, some are just restricted to particular areas. These ones, and these are two different subspecies, they look very similar but they are different. This one only grows in the Augusta area and has only been found a few times. And some of the red and green spider orchids, and then one of the little pink fairy orchids, pink fans. Helmet orchids, which are tiny little orchids with lovely circular leaves growing en masse in the forest floor under the trees. Difficult to find their flowers because they really are minute, only a few millimetres across, but when you do find them they're really interesting to look at. Donkey orchids, different sorts. And the flying ducks, which is one a lot of people know.
Wow, that's amazing.
Again, it looks big but on the photograph, but it's actually very small, about yay big. And going through to the different leek orchids, so many different types. Some only flower after a hot fire, like this one.
Wow. Wow.
And the sun orchids. Whoops, where are they? Here we are. Going through to some of the sun orchids. This is quite a tall one, quite easy to find. This one is very, very small, and you have to be very, very lucky to find that one. It's so beautiful. This is the coastal or broad-lipped spider orchid. It's the Calodenia aplanata, and it's actually a typical orchid along our coast, grows in the coastal heath, and you'll notice it's got some thickenings on the end of the petals and sepals, just the petals I think, and these are actually glands which emit pheromones which attract the insect, the particular insect that pollinates this orchid. And different orchids are pollinated by different, very specific insects often. Not all the time. Different orchids are pollinated in different ways, but mainly it's insects, and a lot of them have a very specific one.
I've seen photos at times of how the insects see the plant.
Yeah.
Do you know how the insects see this?
Well, they see different colours, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not just with the orchids, but all the insects tend to see blues and whites, and often flowers have a line or spots of lines leading into the centre of the plant.
That become visible once
yes,
you can
because
actually see
a lot of them
it,
are actually ultraviolet, which
yeah,
the insects see better than plants. Whereas the red and yellow plants, some of the big flowers that you see, are pollinated by birds or even small mammals. There's quite a lot of that in Western Australia.
So this didn't evolve, obviously, to attract us. The way we're seeing it is really irrelevant to the plant.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, here we've got the lines of these little calyx going into the centre of the plant, and what happens, an insect lands on this lip, the labellum, and as it goes into the centre of the plant, it's on a hinge, and it hinges back, and so that the insect is drawn to and touches the back here where the pollen grains are in a cluster that's sticky, sticks on the insect's back, which then flies onto another plant and deposits it on the stigma, and the plant is pollinated. This is one of our hammer orchids, Drakeas, and this particular one is threatened flora. It's only found in a smallish area of the southwest, and just not very many of them. The structure of these plants are so weird. The labellum, the lip, has evolved to look like an insect, and it attracts, probably with the pheromones again, attracts a wasp that pollinates it, thinks it's a female, grabs it and tries to fly away, but of course because there's a hinge here on the labellum, it actually gets swung over and thrown against the column here, which has the pollen, which is sticky and attaches to the wasp, which then is able to fly off and try it again on another plant.